Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charming. This is another Worcestershire church. This is the little medieval chapel of ease of St Giles Heightington. Heightington means the township, the settlement on the heights, and it's a very appropriate name for this hilltop hamlet. The chapel is 13th century originally, and it was bigger than it is now. It's this glorious, tiny little rural chapel. Largely, it certainly hasn't been massively overdone, and some parts of it kind of feel like they belong in a farmhouse, which is lovely. It's probably 13th century in origin, maybe a bit earlier. It's not known who built it, although there is a legend that it was built by bad King John, who of course is buried at Worcester, as a private chapel for when he was hunting in the royal forest around here, which is entirely possible. The alternative is that it was a private chapel for the Heightingtons, the local big house family. But certainly this is a medieval chapel, and given how medieval chapels worked, almost certainly it's built by someone of importance, I say either the king or local big house, and it's built to serve not just the manor house, not just perhaps the royal hunting lodge, if there was one here, but to serve the local community as well. It's quite some way out of Bewdley, up on a hill. There's the nearby parish of Rock, which is again down in the valley, and this serves the people living up on the hill. Well, let's have a look around this charming and absolutely wonderful little rural chapel of ease. So we start, of course, as usual, at the west end. We are under the gallery. Now, the gallery is slightly over 6 foot. I know that because my head is not quite scraping the ceiling, but it's a very low gallery. You can see here. I mean, not a lot of space between the pews and the top of the gallery. There is a lovely little vestry down here, and in there, just about to see that is the communion table. That's a 17th century communion table. It's been replaced by an altar later on. I suspect under that, I don't think I can think of is under that cloth there's maybe a medieval altar slab. So bend down to go under the lip of the gallery, and you can see here you've got these big windows on the north side looking out, and these smaller windows here. You just see there, see that by the baptism rail, that is a piece of medieval wall painting, and that tells us that underneath this nice ochre wash there is surviving some more medieval wall painting. And at once we realise, yes, this is a medieval chapel. This isn't 17th century, this isn't 18th century, this is medieval, this is 13th century, but much altered, because of course it's been altered to go with the community. Now, pulpits have been taken down. You can see where a pew's been taken out there to extend things. So there's this reading desk here and a lectern. The font is this little Victorian wooden job with a bowl inside. And here we have more medieval wall painting. So you can very much see that's part of a man, isn't there? Very much see some idea of what this would have been like when it was built. It's dedicated to St Giles. St Giles was a hermit, and churches dedicated to St Giles are often found, like this church, in remote forest areas. This is one of the original windows. You can see this tiny little slit, because of course there had been no glass in those days. We have here a crucifix, and I'll just about do this, I expect. Oh yes, this is a medieval altar slab that either comes from somewhere else or more likely was discovered during construction. It's what's technical terms a mensa. There we are, there's the gallery. The organ at the back is 20th century, but largely built apparently of second-hand parts, which makes sense in a tiny little place like this. Here is St Giles, and this is in memory of W. Winnington Thomas, parish priest, who died in 1962. That makes sense. Because St Giles, there he is with his deer. And this is called the Legend of St Giles, that he had his pet deer, and one day the huntsman was chasing the deer, and the huntsman looses off an arrow, and St Giles puts out his hand, and it's pierced through the hand, and of course the pierce through the hand is a suggestion of the sufferings of Christ. It's a good little building. I say it used to be bigger. It would have probably been longer originally, but it's been reduced in size, and it has very much... It's the sort of thing I enjoy, these chapels and churches that feel like almost like farmhouses in place. And you can see here we've got this little low window down here, and again, it's a very recent thing actually. They have a picture of the King and the late Queen at the back. And of course, it's been about a year. I'm recording this. It's been just over a year since Queen Elizabeth II died. Just up the narrow, windy staircase. There's the organ, you see. The staircase is open, so there's no sign saying no entry. Up this staircase, and the staircase could very much be in a farmhouse. It's a very rustic staircase. Here we are, we're beside the organ. You see, these will be the singers' pews, although I suspect originally they were just pews, and this was just a bit of extra accommodation because this gallery much predates the organ. So the organ here is, and the organ has been much altered over the years. It's has a date 1898, Walter Bird and Son, organ builders, but it's actually, you can see there should be stops that are not there because again it's largely out of second-hand parts. And here we are, and this is where we got really for is the roof. Look at that roof structure. We've got a little Velux window up here for extra light. Yes, I know Velux is a trademark. It's also a common term to use for that kind of window, which means that the manufacturers have very much managed to do that great achievement of getting your company name used as a generic term. So here we are up in the gallery, and say this organ. There was a harmonium before the organ, of course, and before the harmonium there would have been a little gallery band. So that is the inside here at St Giles Heightington. Heightington, as I've already said, means the settlement on the height, and as we look around the outside we shall see how apposite that name is. You can see behind me how tiny and humble it is from the outside, because again this is a chapel that when it's built in the forested hunting area, hence St Giles. Now of course the area has largely been cleared. There's still some woodland, but it's largely been cleared and it's farming. So we'll have a look around the outside and observe some of the attractive features of this tiny little chapel. So we start off, of course, here. There we are, little, see, relatively modern brick porch, and then it's probably been shortened on the east side because you can see those brick quoins there, which I wouldn't expect if that was the medieval East End. Then again, it may have been shortened on both ends. And lovely little bell turret, single bell, and looking over here you can see indications why it's called the settlement, the village on the height, because those are hills over there and we're on top of another hill. See, on this side we have the windows are relatively recent. They don't have any of the original windows here, but let's head for the porch. Although there's an extensive churchyard on this side, I think that the other side of the building abuts somebody's garden, so we can't go round the north side on the outside. See here where the door is 17th century. Well, the doorway is 17th century woodwork, and then there's this door in it, and it does look like it's been shortened on both sides to some extent. And there's that little really bell buttress holding up the bell turret, and yes, the other side, you can see there on the top of a hill here, but I guess the other side also has been. The other side, you've got this house there, and there is the shed on the end. That's somebody's garden, so we can't go around the north side. You can just have a look at the west, south and east sides. But it's a very nice building. Rubble construction, you'll notice none of this carefully cut stonework. It would therefore originally have been rendered. So the idea of render, of course, is it gives it the appearance of being cut stone, when in fact it's this rubble with a render on the outside. And there is around the east end. I'll just get around to the east side of the building, the east end of the building, and have a look at what we can see on the east end. That tall east window. And yes, again, it's somebody's garden through there, which is fine. And the mere fact that you've got private property just the other side there, again, is a suggestion that this was somebody's private chapel, and it's then become the parish church, or rather the church for the village, because I think it's still officially a chapel of ease. And that's Heightington, very pleasant little medieval chapel. And so there we have it, Heightington St Giles Chapel. Did bad King John go to mass here before going hunting? We can't be certain. We know he hunted in this area, and it's interesting to think that this humble little building may have been built for a king of England. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.